Welcome everybody to The World is a Mess, and I just want to steampunk it. This is episode 84, February 7th, 2023. I'm your host, Steampunk Star Raisin. I'm here in North Hollywood, California, USA, and I'm here with my co-host, Daniel Bertison. He is in Bellwood, Ontario, Canada. How's it going, Daniel?
Yeah, I've been better.
I know it's been like a month since I uploaded an episode. I mean, the last time we did an episode was December 15th, and I uploaded that January 1st. I just been busy doing some stuff. I went to two comic book conventions in the last month. I and then my girlfriend had some personal drama that I'm not going to get into, but and so I went last weekend. I went to California Comic Con in Costa Mesa, and then the weekend before that, I went to Pasadena Comic Con, and I bought some comics. If you can see here, this is a Silver Age comic. I got a pretty good deal on this because Silver Age X-Men comics are getting kind of expensive and it's kind of scarce to come by for cheap. I paid 35 bucks for this. It presents really well. I would say this is probably in fair condition. There's some loose pages, but it is complete and the cover is detached. But it is a complete copy of X-Men issue 19. First appearance of the Mimic, which is the character right here. Apparently can mimic other people's superpowers. I guess he was a major character early on because this is considered a key, but he doesn't really appear in later issues of X-Men. But and then I got a good deal on late Bronze Age. Let's see. It's kind of a debate amongst comic book collectors of when the Bronze Age ends and when I mean it's there's not a debate of when it begins. It's some people will say that the Bronze Age is from 1970 to 1985 as far as comic book collecting. Some people will say that it's 1970 to 1980, 1970 to 1983. It's looking here on Wikipedia. Yeah, Wikipedia says the Bronze Age is anything from 1970, 1985, and then modern age is 1985 to later. But I got this really good copy. Probably, I would say it's probably in very fine plus condition, maybe borderline near mint, of Spider-Man 246. I love that cover. This whole issue is about a daydream that he has. A daydream that he becomes the most popular man in town and is able to defeat Spider-Man in combat. It's kind of a ridiculous fantasy, but yeah, it's based on Joe Jamerson. But I love that classic cover. This is Spider-Man 246. I paid only $5 for it, considering that it's in high grade. This is like a $50 book. That was a really good deal.
Yeah, it is. Good deal.
Uh, I also got a copy of Conan, King Size Conan Issue 1, Conan the Barbarian from 1973. There was a guy selling a pile. I had to bag and board this because these were just sitting unprotected with, like the Spider-Man comic, unbagged and unboarded. And he had like new old stock of like some Bronze Age and he had some Golden Age and Silver Age comics that he was only selling for $5 each. It was a pretty good deal. This has some light water damage at the top right corner, which unfortunately lowers the grade to like maybe very good, but it still presents really well. It's a really nice cover, classic Barry Windsor Smith, who is I think he's kind of retired now, but he did classic Conan run. He also did Machine Man and but yeah, he did a few other things at Marvel, but yeah, mostly known for his Conan run. Is really. He also did some comics of Iron Man and X-Men, but yeah, a classic Barry Windsor Smith. cover, Conan cover from 1973, king size annual. And then this one unfortunately got a little bit dinged up. This would have been in like near mint condition if not for this little flaw, but this little flaw probably lowers the grade to like a very good find. It's got a little ding right here. This is Star Wars issue 7 from 1977.
Oh, that looks good.
I love how like the comic book writers at the time didn't really know the terminology because it has Han Solo on the cover saying, "Grab a laser gun, Chewie. They got us surrounded." It should be grab a blaster. But this was early Marvel Star Wars comics. The comic books were actually released before the movie to try to hype up the movie. But yeah, I really love the classic cover. It presents really well. At first glance, it looks like a near mint copy, but it's got a little bit of a rip right here. You can barely notice it. A little bit of a ding and a rip right there, which would lower it to, I would say it's probably like a very good find. Also got John Carter, Warlord of Mars, issue 1. This is, I'd say, a very good find because it's got some color fading at the top. It's like it's been rubbed up against other books, and it's a little bit dirty. But otherwise, a pretty clean copy. I would say this is also a very good find copy of John Carter. This book like 10 years ago was heavily spec'd on because they came out with the John Carter Warlord of Mars movie produced by Disney. And that movie was considered one of the worst box office bombs because Disney spent like $200 million making the movie with all the CGI special effects. And
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters. It was
There was a
okay.
blonde woman in there. She was hot.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't a terrible movie, but it just they spent too much money on it and it bombed. But this comic book is actually based on this is from 1977, I think. And this is based on this is a classic Bronze Age comic. This is actually based on the dime novels that date back to like 1910 with the same character. But this was the first comic book adaptation of it. But yeah, this comic book was worth a lot more 10 years ago. Today,
Hmm.
because it's in very good find. This is probably like a $10 book, but not a bad pickup for $5. I love any classic Bronze Age stuff. Um, and this would be a modern comic that I picked up for $5. It's not bad. It was still bagged and boarded. Marvel back in 19, I think it was 1992 is when this comic dates. Marvel did a gimmick where they came back, they were selling comics with cellophane wrap and it came with trading cards.
Hmm.
And this is X-Force issue 1, I think from 1993, as Cable on the cover. I only paid $5 for it. I think it's not a bad deal for $5, considering this thing is still near mint condition. Now there's different variants because there's different trading cards. This one doesn't have the Deadpool rookie. But if you have X Force issue 1 with a Deadpool rookie, this goes from being a $5 book to being like a $50 book because that's an early appearance of Deadpool on a trading card that came with this comic. But there was like 20 different types of trading cards, and unfortunately, this one is not the one with the Deadpool rookie. It's about a $5 book, so I got a fair market value for that. It's in near mint condition. Actually, it's probably because it's in pretty good condition. It's probably a $20 book, but not a bad deal. I have to look up the value for this. This I actually might send in to CGC because it is in near mint condition, maybe borderline gem mint condition. Um, and I love the classic Jack Kirby art cover. This is when Jack Kirby was he went over to DC Comics in the early 70s and he did DC Comics for a while. He left Marvel. This is Demon issue 3. And this comic from this is a 20-cent issue, so this is probably from like 1973. Considering that it's in near mint condition, it's very rare for comic books that old to be in that high of grade. So I may end up sending it into CGC. I'm not really familiar with the Demon character from DC Comics, but I love the classic Kirby art. You can tell this Kirby monster art is always a plus. I couldn't pass that up for $5. It was a really good deal. I got two hot copies of Hulk issue 203. Bronze Age Hulk is getting very expensive. And one of these I would say is in like fine minus condition. And the other one is probably like borderline very fine near mint. I got two copies of Hulk issue 203. Bronze Age Hulk from the 70s. Good deal for $5 because normally these are like this one because it's a little bit more worn. It's got a beat up corner, and it's a little bit more dirtier in the corner. This one's probably like a $20 book, and this is probably like a $50 book. So really good deal for $5 each on those. And then this is another really high grade, really good shape. It was almost like doing rescue buying these comics because they weren't bagged and boarded. So I had to bag and board them myself to protect them, to prevent them from getting banged up. But this is Hulk issue 184. I think this is from like 1976, if I had to guess. And this is a near mint copy of Hulk issue 184. This is probably like an $80 book, and I only paid $5 for it.
Okay.
And then I'm getting into some more interesting stuff, like super old stuff. This is, are you familiar with the character, the Atom? Did you see Legends of Tomorrow? Are you still there? Daniel,
Yeah, hold on.
I'm asking you a question. Are you still here? Are you still down for the podcast? You getting bored. Sorry, maybe I should stop talking about comics so much. Hello?
No,
Daniel,
hold on. I'm here. I'm here. Sorry.
you said you wanted to do this podcast.
No,
You
I
guys
did. I
are
did. I just
yeah,
1 second.
okay. What's going on? Everything okay?
No,
Everything
I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
Are you
I'm right
familiar
here.
with the character, the Atom?
I heard of him. Yeah.
You remember Legends of Tomorrow?
Oh yeah, wait. Yeah. Legends of
He was
Tomorrow. Yeah,
shrink
the Atom.
down. He's basically DC's version of Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. Yeah.
I paid only $5 for this. This is a low grade copy. I would say this is like maybe good condition, maybe good minus.
Oh yeah.
The Atom issue 15 from 1964. When you saw Legends of Tomorrow, they had that the character, the Atom. That's what this character is based on.
Yeah. But in
You know?
Legends Tomorrow, he has a machine suit.
Yeah, here he just has a spandex suit, and he's able to somehow. I think he has like superpowers.
Is that from the 60s or the 80s?
This is from 1964.
Oh, cool.
I paid only $5 for it. It is a low grade copy. It's kind of beat up. It's kind of worn,
Wow.
but it is still attached to the cover. It is still complete. It's issue 15. There's not a whole lot of these on the census, but this is a low grade copy. This is probably only a $20 book. I paid $5. It was a pretty good deal for it. And I'll speed it up because I know this is probably not your cup of tea. Comics are not really. You like the comic book movies, but you don't really get into comic book collecting.
I used to back in the 90s and the early 2000s.
I bought 1950s Mickey Mouse Golden Age comic from like 19, I think this is 51. Really old 10-cent book. More Walt Disney stuff, Walt Disney comics from the mid 50s, late golden age. Paid $5 each for these. I'm not particularly, it was a steal because normally golden age comics are a lot more expensive than this. And like I said, it was kind of a rescue because these weren't bagged and boarded, and a lot of these are in pretty good shape.
Wow, 10 cents? That is a good deal.
Well, these was back in the early 50s. Well, I think these
Wow.
are like 1954, 1955, or mid 50s. Walt Disney Comics issue 168. Walt Disney Comics issue 125. This is from 1951. And this is the oldest Walt Disney comics I have from 1950. Paid only $5 for this. Some of these typically, now granted, it's missing a corner,
Yeah.
and I would say this is probably like very good condition. But some of these go for 50 to $100, and they have a low census count. Like some of these are more rare than Action Comics #1. They're not as high demand, but a lot of people who collect Disney memorabilia will buy
Yeah.
these on eBay. It's not just this doesn't just appeal to comic book collectors. It appeals to collectors of Disney merchandise. So these were released by Dell Comics, and then I have a few more Golden Age comics. Uh, these are it's just really hard to get Golden Age comics this cheap for $5 each. This is in like borderline fair poor condition. The cover is about to fall off, and it's got a chunk missing in the cover. But this is Classic Comics issue 30. This is probably the oldest comic that I own. This is from 1946. It is kind of,
Wow.
yeah, it's a really old comic. And Moonstone, it tells the story of Moonstone, which is, I guess, some kind of Hindu legend, like a golem or something. But it was kind of interesting. And I looked this up. There's only like 8 known copies of this on the census. This is a low grade copy, but and because it's not really widely in demand, like a superhero comic, this is probably only worth like 20 or $30. It's hard to say because this rarely ever gets sold on the market. I might send this in to get certified and graded. And then I have Classic Comics #19. This is also from 1946. This is like the third printing
Hmm.
of Classic Comics #19, Huckleberry Finn from
Yeah, Huckleberry Finn.
1946.
Yeah.
1946. And then, oops.
I remember Joe saying comics are like getting more and more expensive. He was talking about a time when they used to be cents, and now they're like five, six
Five,
dollars
five,
each.
$6. Some of the double size issues are $8 or $9. And then the last two comics, and we'll move on to a different topic. The last two comics that I got are kind of goofy, and I also paid only $5 for. These are in a little bit better condition. I would say this is probably like good, very good condition. It does have a partially detached staple, and it's got some severe creases in it. But this is kind of goofy. Boy comics with rainbow colors. Boy,
Boy comics, never heard that before.
boy comics. This is from 1955.
Whoa, that is so cool. That's old, man.
Yeah, boy comics from 1955. This again was almost like a rescue because it was just sitting out and the cover was bent over, and I had to straighten the cover out. It wasn't protected, bag or board. Old comics like this need the bag or board, but this is complete. It does have a slightly detached stable and some severe creases, but I would say it's still borderline good, very good. This is probably like another $20 or $30 book. And then I have Boy Comics issue 105. This one actually got a classic Cold War cover. This was probably one of the better condition. I would say this is like very good find. One of the better condition Golden Age comics that I bought. Um, but it has use extreme caution, U.S. hydrogen bomb, and it's I flipped through it. It's a story about a bunch of crime fighting boys, like 12-year-old boys that are tracking down a bunch of spies who tried to steal a hydrogen bomb. So it's definitely a classic, goofy Cold War story. So there's a hydrogen bomb there, and they're fighting criminals. Boy Comics issue 105.
Wow, cool.
Anyway, that's all I'll talk about for comics. I know that probably lost you there because you don't really
It's
actually.
sad. There was no, yeah, there's guys fighting, but there's no girl. Like I guess back then, women fighting it was kind of like forbidden or alien back
Well,
then,
no,
especially back
you
then.
had Woman comics dating back for the 40s. Wonder Woman, I think, made her first appearance in 1941. There
Oh
were a
yeah.
lot of but they're expensive. Wonder Woman comics from the 40s are very popular. Um, They're very expensive. I can't afford any Golden Age Wonder Woman comics. The reason why these were so cheap was because a lot of them were in lower grade, and a lot of it, the guy didn't know what he had, and he was just trying to get rid of them. He said he bought them from a flea market, and non-superhero comics are usually worth less in the Golden Age than superhero comics, because like when it comes to Golden Age comics, everybody wants like Action Comics #1 or Detective Comics #27. Those are the rare keys that everybody soft, seeks. Some of these comics, like the Classic Comics issue 30, this is from 1946. This is extremely rare. There's only 8 copies known on the census. If I submit this, it'll be a 9th copy in the census. So technically, this comic book is more rare than Action Comics #1. It's just not as widely sought after. So that's why it's only like a $30 book. But it's still pretty cool to own something. It makes me wonder, like, who was the original owner of this comic from 1946? What was the history? I wish old comics could talk, because I bet you it could tell a pretty interesting story. But anyway, moving on, I was just showing some of my comic book haul that I got from previous 2 conventions. Actually, all those were from California Comic Con, which was last Sunday, February the 5th. So what else is on your mind, Daniel?
Well, I'm not feeling very well. Like I told you, I recently lost a friend and a subscriber, and it really does.
Subscriber of this channel?
No, one of my subscribers.
You have a subscriber on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, apparently I have a few of them. Sci-Fi Nation's one of them.
Yeah, but you don't upload anything there.
No, I know I don't upload anything. That's the thing, But I do have some subscribers, which I'm like, wow, that's very nice of them. But
So why did you have a falling out with this
well,
subscriber?
I had a falling out with this guy. Let's call him Spudhead because I'm not going to use his real name. Um, like last summer, I met him on Sci-Fi Nation's channel. This guy was very friendly. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know my name. He wanted to talk to me. He subscribed to me. He said, "Oh, me, us nerds have to stick together." And he was really friendly. He added me on Discord. I added him on Discord, and we were talking like every single day. And as time went on, yeah, we were talking and talking, but eventually he kind of stopped a little bit. He got, more distant and more distant. And then I went on one of his friends' shows. And apparently me and this girl, well, we kind of had a fault. Well, no, she was rude to me, so I left. And I told Spudhead, I said, listen, buddy, your friend is being rude to me. And then he accused me of calling her fat. No. I never called her fat. Whatever. He stopped talking to me
Well, was
for
this
a
the
month.
same? This was the same friend that you said, "Oh, she looks like she likes to eat." Is that what you said?
No, that was Jacob. That was Jacob.
Okay, so this is the second girl that you insulted because of her weight.
No, I didn't insult her. She just didn't like what I had to say about the other person.
Oh, about the other girl that you said it looks like she likes to eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she got offended. She told me not to talk to her again. So I'm like, that's
Okay.
fine,
That's her
whatever.
right.
I blocked her. That's her right. I don't care. I blocked her. Then I told my friend Spudhead, and then he accused me of calling her fat. And I'm like, no. I did not call her fat. I was calling Jacob's friend fat. So he didn't
I
talk to
know,
me for
but
a month.
you shouldn't go down that. I've tried to warn you
I
against
know,
that.
I know, I know, I
You
know.
say negative
But
things towards people, then you're gonna get negativity in return.
yeah,
So
but I was talking about someone in Australia, completely unrelated. But anyways,
doesn't matter.
I
It's
know.
the perception.
But anyways, like okay. So anyways, he didn't talk to me for a month. I still had him on Discord. He didn't talk to me for a month. Okay. So on the 4th of February, okay, I gave you this video on Skype. Um I went
Okay.
on my friend Administrative Jill's channel and Scotty R3's channel, Scotty
Is that
R3.
the longest journey part 6?
Yeah. So anyways, I
So whose
told
you
them.
whose YouTube channel is that?
I think it's Administrative Jill's channel.
Okay, are you still friends with this person?
Well, okay, I'm getting to that. So I started talking to Administrative Jill and Scotty about what happened a month ago.
Uh-huh.
I didn't say nothing wrong. I told them word for word, beat for beat what happened.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, the next day, Spudhead contacted me, very angry. Okay, first of all, he blocked me. He knocked me off his Discord.
Okay.
Then I private messaged him. I said, "Hey, buddy, you got a problem with me? Let's talk about it." And then he contacted me. He's like, "You make fun of me. You were talking about me, making fun of me, making drama about me. Stay away from me. I don't want to see you ever again." And he blocked me, and he's gone now. And I'm like, wow, Spudhead. July 2022 to February 4th, 2023.
Okay.
Like, is that what friendship is worth nowadays?
Well, it doesn't sound, these are just people you meet online that you don't really know. So, they're associates. I don't know if you consider them really friends, but you got to be careful about saying negative things, making fun of people. If you make fun of people and say negative things, making fun of their weight, it's going to reflect badly on you, and then it's going to bring negativity back towards you. If you're okay with that negativity, then
No,
go
no,
for it. But you don't seem to be okay with the negativity,
no.
so you need to be nicer to people and watch what you say about people, and that way you won't be alienating yourself as much.
I
That's the
mean, I
advice
should.
I can give you in that
I mean,
situation.
if I could go back in time and change this, I would. But 2020 hindsight, right?
Well, yeah, if I could go back in time and win and get the lottery numbers and win a lottery and become a multimillionaire, I would, but it's not realistic. So hindsight's 2020. You need to just try to strive to be nicer to people so you don't get alienated.
It really does suck. I mean, shit.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
you got to be careful about venting your rage on people who have nothing to do with why you're angry.
mm,
I've said this last time, the last podcast you talked about your problems, very similar
yeah.
problems that you're talking about as to now. So, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, buddy,
Yeah.
other than you got to be nicer to people. I'm
So
just telling you that as constructive criticism.
yeah, I know. I understand. I understand. So, anyways, what else can we talk about? Oh, did you hear James Gunn changed the
Oh yeah,
ending?
we could talk about the James Gunn announcement. Okay, the problem I have with the James Gunn announcement is he's not entirely rebooting the DC universe. I
Hmm.
get that the universe needs to be rebooted and it should be rebooted because I thought Zack Snyder did a crappy job with the DC universe. And they got the multiverse and they got Elseworld stories like the Joker. Apparently, he's talked about how like the Joker and Batman's going to be like an Elseworld story. It's going to be in its own universe, separate from the rebooted universe. But he's doing a Amanda Waller movie. I just don't think the character is strong enough on her own to do a solo movie based around Amanda Waller. And then the other problem I have is he's bringing in characters from Suicide Squad. He did a terrible job with Suicide Squad. It bombed. Now, part of that you could blame on COVID, but I just thought the humor was crass and cheap. It came off as cold. The movie came off as cold and callous, like glorifying murdering people and making fun of it. Oh, I could shoot this person from underneath my arm. And you had Peacemaker. I didn't really like the Peacemaker as a character. Then he did a Peacemaker solo series. Yeah, I just got 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes left. I just got notice of we only got
So yeah,
10
you know what?
minutes.
Now apparently,
So the
yeah.
problem I have is he's not entirely rebooting the DC universe, and I think that's just going to lead to a more flawed universe and more confusion because he's doing an Amanda Waller movie. Why aren't you doing like a Why he did mention Green Lantern movie, and he did, or Green Lantern Corps movie, which I think is cool. And he did mention a Swamp Thing movie, which I think is cool idea to do that. But why are you doing Amanda Waller movie? Because he's just tying it in to his crappy version of Suicide Squad. I did like Polka Dot Man, but he killed off the character, and he kills off most of the characters like Boomerang, and it's just going to lead to more confusion. If you're going to totally do a reboot, don't do a total reboot. But a lot of it seems a little bit like his ego of vanity. Well, I did Suicide Squad, the second one, so I'm going to keep characters from that. And then it's not a total reboot, and it's going to be flawed. So if you're going to do a total reboot, do a total reboot. Um, there, Booster Gold is a goofy character. Booster Gold and Amanda Waller.
Mm.
I don't see those movies doing very well. Now I know that that's created a boost in the value of Booster Gold issue 1 from 1986. So if you're a comic book collector, that's good news for you, because if you're holding on to Booster Gold issue 1, it's now gone up to $500 in value and near mint. But as far as a comic book character, he's a character who travels back in time because he's a fan of superheroes from the 20th century.
Also, he's a little bit of a loser in the 25th century. He's a loser, so he goes back in time so
He
he can become
steals
a
a
hero.
time machine and he travels back in time, and he basically has a superpowered suit that can generate force fields that allows him to fly, allows him
Mm.
to fire energy blast out of his hands. He also has a robot companion who accompanies him,
Mm.
and he also uses his knowledge of the past to get rich.
Yeah, it's like
So
gonna be a TV show, a Booster Gold TV show.
no, I heard that they were doing a movie.
Yeah,
Or
well, I think on HBO Max they're gonna do a TV show. That's what we're saying. James Gunn. So
I
that
just don't know if that's a strong enough character to dedicate resources to.
hmm
There's so many more interesting um characters that you could do, like Hawkman, or
Yeah.
you could do Dr. Fate. A lot of fans were really receptive to Dr. Fate in the Black Adam movie, but unfortunately Dr. Fate got killed off, and oh, spoiler alert, and Dr. Fate um ended up, being kind of a minor supporting character. And so I think they're not focusing, you could, Dr. Fate is such an interesting character. You could have done a whole DC movie. I would rather see a DC movie about Dr. Fate than I would with Amanda Waller.
hmm
Because Amanda Waller, she's just like a corrupt government bureaucrat who has no problems murdering people. She's kind of evil. And it's not a very relatable character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he's tying it in with his Suicide Squad, so it's not a full reboot. So I have issue with that.
So
But
everybody's angry. Everybody's angry that James Gunn is only bringing over his Suicide Squad to the new universe. Like, oh, that's favoritism. He favors what
it
he.
is favoritism, and it's personally his own vanity and ego, in my opinion. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to doom the reboot. And then if this reboot fails, then DC will probably go on the back burner for a while, because Discovery is going to be focusing on mostly the company that owns the Warner Brothers. Well, they bought out the Warner Brothers. They own the DC characters. They're more focused on doing documentary films and documentary TV series than they are doing superhero stuff, because the superhero stuff, for the most part, is either breaking even or not making money. Like the last Suicide Squad movie bombed pretty badly. Like it made
hmm
less than 200 million, and it was a big budget movie. But we're about to run out of time. So if you want to
the
do a Ukraine war update? We got less than
um
we got
yeah,
five
sure, sure.
minutes. What?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Let's
We
do
only
it
got
Ukraine.
5 minutes. I don't want to get cut off.
Yeah.
I already, like 5 minutes ago, got the warning for a 10-minute countdown.
So yeah, yeah. Let's talk Ukraine.
Hold on. I like to go to Al Jazeera because it's a more neutral view on the Ukraine war. Uh, uh, all right. Share screen. Where? God, I've got too many tabs open. I gotta close all my tabs. Hold on. I was searching for the map. Ukraine map. That's how I usually like to do my updates. Okay. Let me start over again. I need to refresh it. Uh, oh, that's weird. Okay, there we go. It wasn't coming up. All right, so this is the Ukraine war map and charts off of Al Jazeera. Here's the battle map. This is day 349, February 7th, 9 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Really, in the last month, not really much has changed. There's been a continued stalemate between the Ukrainian army and the Russian army, heavy casualties on both sides. You know, like a month ago, Russia pulled out of Kherson and they were on the Dnieper River with a defense line. And over here to the northeast, um, Russia has launched a counteroffensive. And they've launched counteroffensive near Soledar, which is Ukrainian for Salt City, and Belmut. So they're launching, there's major fighting in this region right here. And it appears that the Russian army has been able to retake these two small towns. But, and there's a rumor that they're gearing up for a major spring counteroffensive because apparently Putin is all in. And Putin has said that if Ukraine attacks Crimea, that then nuclear weapons are on the table. But yeah, so I don't really see any major changes other than the fact that it appears that Russia has retaken Soledar and Belmet, although it is, you know, Ukraine claims that they still partially control those areas. So that is the current front line, the current gauge of the Russian offensive. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, we need to get negotiating. Putin claims that he's trying to negotiate with Ukraine and the United States and the EU, but they don't want to negotiate. And I just think that's incredibly dangerous because this gets spread over to other countries. It could lead to World War III. But I don't know where this is going to go. I thought this war would have been over by now. I didn't know it was going to drag on like this. And Ukraine hasn't been fully decisive in kicking the Russians out of all of Ukraine. As you can see, they still control probably like 1/5 of Ukraine. And of
Yeah.
course, there's daily attacks by Russian drones. Russia is now using drones now, as well as airstrikes and missile strikes. And so we shall see. But yeah, that's my brief update for the Ukraine war.
Are all the civilians evacuated, do you think?
Not all of them. A lot of them have. As you can see here, millions have left. But we're running out of time. I want to wrap this up before I just get cut off. But let me stop my screen share. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is The World is a Mess, and I just want to steampunk it.